Hey, 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 welcome back to another episode. I hope you are having a wonderful week so far. I just want to talk today a little bit about the difference between the word good and the word nice. I feel like sometimes we think they're the same thing, and there really is a difference. And so, just starting off, Google definition, it says good generally implies a positive quality like morality, competence, or value, while nice usually describes something pleasant, agreeable, or friendly. Um, you know, Both can be used positively, don't get me wrong, right? But good often suggests a deeper, more substantial, positive quality, while nice is more about superficial pleasantness. And I personally didn't even know that information myself until I did a little research and did a little studying. Just because as you're going through things and in life on your journey, you're going to come across so many different people, so many different opportunities, so many different situations, right? Where your moral compass is going to have to be recognized and self-evaluated, and you're going to have to sit with your moral compass and decide, is this something for me or should I say no to it, right? And I have been met with so much of that. I don't know if anybody else has, but here we are in May. We're at the beginning of May, and I have just been met with so much contrast and so much change, um, within the last year. I mean, even the last 6 months. But so much of it has been has been really good for me, has been good for others around me, has been good for my family. As hard as some of it has been, it's been more difficult. It's taken a lot of sitting with my ethics, sitting with my moral compass, and really just going within and asking myself some serious hardcore questions. And those questions were things like, would I want that to happen to me? Or would I want that to happen to somebody that, I care about, one of my children, my grandchildren? Like, it's been really sitting with, hey, Crystal, you got out of domestic violence in 2009 with your children. How do you feel about this? Like, how do you feel about what's going on right now in your current situation? And, there's been a lot of family stuff. There's been a lot of health things. There's been a lot of, just a lot of growth and a lot of change, a lot of ended relationships, but then a lot of new relationships coming. And so it's really neat to see the process and trust it. And so when I see the good, I really think about morals. I think about the competence, the value. A good person is ethical, they're responsible, they often have a high moral compass, right? A good job is well done and meets standard of quality. So when I think about the word good, I think about, um, am I doing this because I love it, or I'm doing this because someone else thinks I'm good at it? Am I doing this because I love it? Or am I doing this because it looks good on paper or it looks good in the public eye? Like, I want to do good service. I want to give good quality. And I have standards. Like, I didn't have standards before. If you had asked me 6 years ago, even 3 years ago, or even a year ago, I had very low standards. And so the quality changes when you start growing and you start changing. And so I think about that, and I think about all of the good that's come, right? The emphasis on substance. So good often emphasizes and implies something real, tangible, and worthwhile. A good friend is someone you can trust. And so when I think, like, that's just a great example. When I think about what good means, it means like I know I can trust that person without a doubt. And then when you compare it to the word nice, nice refers to pleasantness and agreeability, right? Like agreeableness. Like, a nice person is friendly, approachable, and easy to get along with. there's nothing wrong with the word nice. There's nothing wrong with being a good person and being friendly and being approachable. It's great when you're somebody like me, for where a lot of people feel like you're pretty easygoing and they really feel like I'm approachable. I have a lot of people come to me and ask me questions for advice, or just really come to me because they're feeling stuck. But a lot of them over the years have watched me get unstuck, multiple times, not just once, but multiple times. They've seen me with my transparency, and I think that's part of that's really good, to be transparent. Like, people want to see that. um, it also can emphasize, though, on superficiality, which, nice can also describe something that is pleasing to the senses. Maybe food tastes good, so you're like, "Ooh, this is a nice dish," right? Um, it's pleasing to the palate. Having a nice day or having a nice meal, like, if you think about those things, it's like we really are using our five senses. When you touch a fabric, and like a blouse you're wearing, you're like, "Oh, this feels so nice," right? You would normally say, "This feels nice," right? "I really love this." So nice can really emphasize on more descriptive with your senses, with, describing something that you enjoy that's pleasing to you. An example: "It was nice to see you at the party." Um, you know, when I use that example, "It was so nice to catch up." It's usually an acquaintance. It's usually somebody not really more personal to me. Now, when I'm on the phone with somebody, it's like, "Oh my gosh, it was so good to spend time with you." Right? "It was so good to see you. It was so good." And so I catch myself doing that. And so it really shows you, like, a level of awareness, um, on the value of the words good and nice. Good suggests a deeper, more substantial quality of or character, while nice focuses on pleasantness and agreeability. Right? We've established this. While a good person is often nice, a nice person may not necessarily be good, in a sense of having strong moral values. And so you can see a nice person and they can seem really nice, like they're really nice to while you're having the conversation, while you're talking to them, but in reality, and like and the good in them may not be so great. Like, they can be nice to you, but they could also be really negative and nasty to someone else. And so that difference, you can tell that difference in their moral compass. Good refers to a person's behavior, actions, attitudes, or values, and nice is more about their manner. They're pleasant in their dealings with others, and often good people are also nice, but it's possible for a good person to be rather gruff, right? So distant or even unbearing in their manner. So it's you want a balance of both. I mean, that's really what we should strive, is to be a good person and to do nice things, right? And so we want that moral compass to find a balance somewhere. And so a nice person is typically pleasant to be around, polite. There also can be overly kind. And so sometimes they have a hard time saying no. They have a hard time with choosing what's for them. And and then the good person, usually, whether they're nice or not, if they have a good moral compass, they suggest a higher standard of quality. They really focus on their morals, on what it is that they believe and don't believe. They really focus on effectiveness, implying genuine goodness and integrity. And sometimes you're going to see that good in someone, and they may not be nice. Imagine if that person flipped that switch and became nice too. They would just vibrate and just grow so much from just becoming just so much love in their lives by just growing that niceness. Um, and so um, good people are often motivated by a sense of right and wrong, and often involving genuine care and concern. Whereas nice people are usually driven by a desire to be liked, or to avoid conflict. And so you want, as much as you want that balance, you want to find where you can use that moral compass to help shift your nice, so that you can become somebody is a solution oriented person. You don't have to always have conflict and you don't have to avoid it. And when conflict or contrast comes, or you just have like, when you have a lot of things coming at you and it's like, what is going on? Like, I can't handle anymore. And you're just like, you start getting in your head. The real focus is on what you want. I think so many of us focus on what's happening in the moment that we get so distracted and we keep saying, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't want it, I don't want it. But what you don't understand is all you're doing is rubber banding effect. And that magnet, that rubber band is just snapping back or attracting, right? And it's just bringing you right back to that unpleasantness. And so, of more of what you don't want. And so, sometimes we have to take ourselves out of what's happening in that moment and just stop for a minute, pause, and focus on what exactly it is that we want the situation to look like. And it may not look like that in that moment, but at some point you will recognize that shift, and your thoughts and your emotions play a very big role in that. And so, what good do you want? Like, how do you want to use your moral compass? And so, um, are you a people pleaser? I think that when we're nice and we're struggling with the moral compass, we're not quite sure what morals we have and don't have, we struggle with belief within ourselves or within the situation or others. Um, we sometimes when we're nice, we are people pleasing. We are um, so concerned with letting other people down. We're so concerned with disrupting things and ruffling feathers is what I used to call it. Like, we don't want to ruffle those feathers, right? We really just are so nice that we'll say yes to everything. We'll literally just get so caught up in people pleasing, and even if it burns us out. And so the whole point is to avoid the burnout. You want to do things that align with you. You want to do things that you love doing. You want to do things that you enjoy. You want to do things that you have this burning desire to do. And, my life coach said to me, and I just absolutely love this. It was said, your morals need to be sound. Like, you need to know who you are. And the best way to do that is to ask yourself questions and ask good questions. Like, ask good questions like, why do I love this so much? Not focused on what's going wrong, but focused on what you love, what you enjoy, what you want to happen, where you're headed, right? Like, where you see yourself. At the end of your journey, who are you? And then you focus on that. Keep that kind of that vision of who you are at the end of your journey in the back of your mind, but your constant focus is you're becoming. Like, you already are that person. And I think we struggle with that when our moral compass is off and we're people pleasing and we're doing stuff that's not meant for us, that other people tell us we're good at it and so we do it, or we're just not sure where we should be and we're feeling really stuck. Like, these are all opportunities for you to ask yourself, like, what do I love doing? What do I enjoy? What makes my heart happy? What makes me sing my song? Like, what vibrates me and elevates me and makes me just want to go get it? Like, what is it? And so, like, that's something that when you're self evaluating and am I a good person? Asking yourself if you're a good person. Well, ask what your morals are. Ask yourself, what do you believe? Like, what do you believe to be true? And do you truly, genuinely believe them, or is it something you just wish you believed in? If it's something you wished you believe in, then you need to start finding that belief by doing the work and starting to establish those affirmations that give you that power, those prayers that give you that power to find that belief. And then asking God for guidance. I think that's the biggest thing we neglect. We're so afraid to get down and pray and just sit with Him and pray and asking Him the right questions. You can also ask God, what is it that you have for me? And I think that we're afraid to ask that question because we're afraid of the answer. I know I was for a really long time. But God placed it on my heart to write my story, my first book, and publish it in 2020. And it took me until 2024. And so it took me over 4 years to write that book, but it genuinely only took me a few months to put it on paper. But it took me over 4 years to get to the point where I felt confidence within myself that I didn't care what anybody else thought of my story, and I was in the process of rewriting my story so that I'm not that person who lived in trauma for decades. I'm no longer that person who suffers with 37 plus panic attacks every day. I chose to implement change into my life, and I think that it has to be a choice. And my papa was a pastor, and he always used to say to me when I would ask for help, and he knew I was in addiction, and I didn't even realize he knew because like I figured I was like hiding it really well from everybody, but you're really not. And I didn't know that because I was in the addiction, right? And he used to say that he could lead a horse to water, but he couldn't make them drink. And I never understood it. And I get it now. Um, you know, I get it now. And I understand what he means. And that really is just saying, I can teach you every method there is to self development. I can teach you every method there is to becoming a life coach. I can teach you how to write your own book. I can teach you how to eat healthy. I can teach you how to use our products every single day. I can teach you how to become your best self. But ultimately, to become your best self, you have to want it and you have to do the work. I think so many people when they come into my programs, they sometimes believe that I'm going to hand them everything and it's just going to be magical and they're just going to all of a sudden make all this money and they're just all of a sudden going to hit all these things and they're going to do all these things and it's just going to flip everything overnight and they expect me to do the work for them. And the truth be told, I had to learn what my moral compass was. I had to decide that being a nice guy was great and I will always be a nice person, but I had to prioritize what I was giving the pleasure to. I had to seek validation through myself and my inner self, my younger self, as a matter of fact. Like not even my adult self today, but my little Crystal, my childhood self. I had to seek her because she was struggling with her self image. She'd gone through so much trauma for 37 years between the molestation and just, the mom, my mom was an alcoholic till I was 5. And just the memories of things, the trauma from our house fire that we were in. And I had to drag my nephew, who's now 40, but he was 3 at the time and I was 9, having to watch my sister, run through the flames into that fire to get her dog and then die. Um, just there was a lot of trauma attached. Going through domestic violence for 17 years and being molested for 4 years of from 3 to 7 years old, by having 3 separate abusers, and 2 of them I'm aware of still walk this earth, with no consequences, and there was just a lot, um, from to being an alcoholic and an addict most of my life off and on since I was little, very young, um, to just really going through some things major as an adult as well, and carrying that trauma over to not just myself but to my children, and choosing to get out and realizing that it almost cost me literally everything, but being so damn grateful that I still got out. Being so damn grateful that my children are the adults they are today. They're amazing. They're incredible. I love all of them so much, and I'm just so damn grateful that God is in our life today. And He's the center. He's the foundation of where we're headed and what we're doing. And that was my morals. That was my moral compass that was out of whack, out of alignment. I had no self-worth. I had zero love for myself. When I began this journey 6 years ago, I had zero love for myself. But what really changed was, um, my granddaughter got leukemia at 9 months old in March of 2017. And through her journey, I really grew my relationship and really found Jesus. And that was really, um, the relationship with him was what the was like the strength to keep me going through that journey for my children and for her and for the rest of my family and my friends, um, for myself ultimately, because during that journey I quit drinking alcohol, um, and found sobriety. And that was Christmas of 2017. So she was diagnosed in March. And by Christmas, I was officially saying I'm an alcoholic and I need help and I'm done drinking. And that is when my life really started changing. That is when I had to feel the feelings. I realized that I had packed all that trauma up and put it in a little box and put a bow on it and shoved it in a corner as far away as I could in a closet. And I hadn't dealt with none of it, none of my life's trauma. And so I spent those 2 years on that journey with my children and my granddaughter, and I spent it feeling every feeling. And by December of 2019, we were about 5 months after we lost her to that battle. She was 3 years and 1 month, and we lost her that July. And it was that December that I finally asked God for help. I finally asked him to take over and lead my life. And I will tell you that that's when my moral compass really changed. That's when I became a good person. That's when I truly, truly, genuinely knew that I was rewriting my story no matter what. And I felt like a hot mess. I felt like I couldn't do it, but I knew he could. And I didn't have it in me to feel like I was being brave because I felt so weak in that moment. What I didn't understand was that was the most strongest, most courageous thing I could have done was let him lead my life, was allow him to come in. That rewired and just completely reset the foundation for my life and my children's life and my grandchildren's life, my future grandchildren's life, my nieces, my nephews, my great nieces, my great nephews, my mother, my siblings, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, like my friends, people that I have in my circle today, people that were complete strangers that are like so close to me today. Like God took over and my relationship with my partner, like every single thing in my life changed. And it was because I made a decision that I was finally done trying to do it by myself. And my moral compass really, really changed. I began having standards. I I realized the growth and I started being more aware of things and I started asking myself the right questions instead of saying how miserable I was and staying in depression and having those panic attacks and anxiety and all that PTSD trauma. I made a decision that that wasn't who I wanted to be and that my future self, did not have to be that person. And I started visualizing and seeing her as that good person, not just that nice guy who was a people pleaser, but as a good person. And it didn't happen overnight, but slowly and pretty surely it happened. But I will tell you, it would have happened a lot faster had I really trusted the process and not fought it and kicked and screamed along the way, and not been so stubborn. Because remember, I gave my heart to God, which means that He was leading. And there's moments when, even on that journey, as you're growing your relationship with Jesus and you're really allowing the Holy Spirit to come in, there's moments where even you will have those doubts in that second. And the biggest blessing that I could say is remember why you started. Remember who you started for. Remember what it is that has been placed on your heart, that is your dreams and your gifts and your talents and your goals. And understand that God does not call you when you're qualified. He does not call you when you're qualified. He calls you to become qualified. And I was having this conversation this morning, and it is so true. And that's how we seek the good. That's how we seek that. Where are our morals? Where do our morals belong? And it is okay to be motivated in love. I think so many of us are so afraid to tell their friends that they love them. I love everybody. Like, I have no reason to have anything but love in my heart because I want to be as close to as like Jesus as possible. And unconditional love does not mean that you have to settle for what people are doing or how they're behaving. It just means that you can send them the love, knowing that you have that in your heart and that sometimes someone needs it a little more. And that's the behaviors that you're seeing. That's the reactiveness that you're seeing, right? And so, nice people, we tend to do too much for those who don't deserve it. And we are easy prey for those types of users and abusers. And I think that's a huge thing for us to think about. Um, we can tend to get into codependent relationships when we're too nice. We caretake others in the hopes of eventually being cared for by them, right? Um, it's a lose-lose when you're involved in stuff like that. It needs to be a give and a take for each of you. It's just we're meant to give and we're meant to bless others. We're meant to love each other. And I think that that's something that when you just have those takers, they're going to drain you. They're going to exhaust you. They're going to drain you. They literally do not care if they make you sick. They do not care if you are unpleasant. They don't care. As long as they're getting what they want, nothing else matters. And those are the people that you need to run away from. Those are the people that you don't want to spend a lot of quality time with. You want to set healthier boundaries to where you're limiting your time with them or you're not spending time with them at all. Like some people are just not meant to stay for a lifetime, they're just meant for a season. When you're a good person, you usually try to make what you really strive to try to make wise choices even when it upsets others. You have that moral compass. You know that morally, this is what you need to do, and not everybody is going to agree. You're going to have some backlash. Regardless, you have to make a decision, and this is your decision, and you've made it. Um, and and so you can't allow other people to just wreck you. And so as long as you're um, I think that it's that choice that you're making, right? You're making a decision to elevate yourself, and not everybody's going to understand where you're being taken by God, where He's leading you, because He's not talking to them about you, He's talking to you about you. And they're so focused on what you're doing, they're not focused on what He's trying to tell them. And so it's so important that you just understand your journey is your journey and yours alone. And it's going to look different for you in someone else's eyes because they're not the one having the conversations with God. They're not the one that are praying the prayers that you're praying. Their thoughts may not even look the same as yours, and they don't rent space in your head. And so because of that, you are the one who you have to stay focused on what it is that you're doing and where you're headed and your purpose. And I think that that's where a lot of people struggle with the good and the nice is if they don't know what their purpose is and they can get led astray. And I've been there. That's why I can speak the truth on it for myself and for others. And so I just think the biggest thing you can do for yourself is to pray about it, seek guidance and counsel, journal what it is you want your life to look like instead of what you don't want your life to look like. Start speaking life over yourself and your journey, because negative self-talk is you're just killing everything. It's speaking death over everything. Whereas if you're speaking life over it, you're paying attention to your thoughts, your words, your actions, your behaviors, you're making significant changes. You're gonna be met with obstacles and contrast and things getting in the way because that's just how things work. Every time you claim that you want change, every time you claim you want something more, you're going to have that contrast. The enemy will always try to kill and steal your joy. But that's why you serve a mighty God. That's why you have that opportunity to seek Him in those moments. Instead of getting upset, instead of getting angry at it, pause for a minute and ask, is this come with joy and peace? And is it from God? And if it's not, ask Him to release it. Ask Him to take that from you. And then ask Him to saturate your whole entire being with that peace and love and bring you the things that are meant for you. And I think that being an asker is so important, and we're so afraid that we shouldn't. But He's waiting for you to put those legs to those prayers. He's waiting for you to do the steps and to just move forward. And I think that's where it's a gift for us. You have this opportunity and this gift to just flip the switch and move forward and walk next to Jesus and just literally lead your own life through them. And I think that is the most amazing gift that could be given to you. And I'm excited to hear where this will take you. Um, because ultimately I feel like when we gain this knowledge, we're never sure what to do with it. And so I invite you to just trust the process. Start journaling about what it is that you want. Start asking for those things that light your fire, and don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to change. And if you are, ask God to lead you, and know that if it doesn't feel right, that gut instinct is real. It's usually not from God. And that's part of that moral compass. That's part of that good that's inside you that you're developing, or that you know you have, right? We all have it. And it's just a matter of, do we want to use it correctly? Do we want to, learn to trust it? And so don't be afraid to say no. I think that's the biggest part about being somebody that's good, um, is that you're not a people pleaser. And so do the things you love, and then say no to the things that you don't love. I love you all. I hope you have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Don't forget to share this with someone.